All right, welcome everybody. Believe in Bills, live here on YouTube. Adam Benini and Sal Majorana. As always, after games on Sundays, we invite you to join us here over the next 20 minutes or so to answer and react to some of your comments and questions. And there should be a lot of them. There's a lot of ground to cover after an unbelievable 39-34 come from behind win for the Bills over the Cincinnati Bengals on a snow-covered field that you can see behind Sal there, who is in the coach's booth, I think, or one of them, in the adjacent to the press box. Sal, where does that one rank? And we've seen a lot of crazy games over the years, but that one's right up there with the best of them, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, Adam, they're closing this stadium out with a few beauties. The Baltimore game in Week 1, and the Tampa Bay game was a crazy game, and now this one. I wrote in my one of the things I did, probably the observations. This game sort of reminded me, again, showing my age, and you'll remember the game very well. This one reminded me of 1990, Week 4 against the Broncos. They scored 3 touchdowns in 77 seconds in the fourth quarter, turned what looked like a sure loss into a win. That's the first game that came to my mind when I watched what happened. The Bills scored 3 touchdowns in 4.5 minutes here to turn what was looking like an ugly, horrible loss into, one of their best victories in years. So, yeah, huge day. I mean, Adam, they were in trouble here. Yeah. They were in big trouble. Their playoff chances were flagging at best. Their division chances were gone. And it was looking pretty ugly. Crowd was angry. Crowd was quiet after Cincinnati made it 28-18 there. So you got to give the Bills a lot of credit for coming back and pulling this thing out.
21 points in 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, 4:30 exactly.
7 of those come courtesy of the defense too, on an epic pick 6 by Christian Benford. Yeah. And what can you say about Josh Allen? I mean, his Hall of Fame MVP resume, whatever you want to, this game will have a prominent place.
Yeah. I mean, look, they're down 28-18. They've got to score quick. 2 quick passes, and he throws an incomplete, and then the 40-yard run, which was, my God, the Bengals, I can't – I mean, I know they were a man-to-man defense there, so it is tougher to control the quarterback. But, Adam, there wasn't a guy around him for the entire 40-yard journey to the end zone. He just walked in practically. So that was a huge play. And then, all the stuff that happened in between. And then he puts it away with another play that you just scratch your head. Like, how do the Bengals let this happen? It's 3rd and 15. You know damn well he's dropping back to pass, and probably 90% of it is going to be he's just going to run. They don't want to throw an incomplete pass. How do you not have somebody, maybe 2 guys, who are spying him to make sure they keep him short of the first down? They didn't do it, and he just blows through for 17 yards, game over. I mean, look, we knew this Bengals defense, even though they've played better the last few weeks, we knew it was a bad defense. And this fourth quarter, we saw just how bad this defense is. I don't know how Zach Taylor can sleep tonight after watching what happened in this game today. A sure win for them goes into a sure loss.
Yeah, no question about it. And Burrow comes back. Buffalo's 3rd down defense was absolutely abysmal. I mean, the Bills wind up 10 of 12 on 3rd down, and I think, or the Bengals, 10 of 12 on 3rd down. I think they were 7 of 8 in the first half. Is the note I wrote down to myself. But then the defense comes up with a couple of stops and then makes big plays. The back-to-back interceptions. When you go, I mean, how the hell Joe Burrow, I mean, you know how it happened. The Benford pick 6 was unfathomable to me. And then Jordan Phillips, your buddy there, gets a hand on the very next play from scrimmage from Cincinnati on the deflection. And you have A.J. Epinesa, who makes the interception, of the game obviously turned. So a Bills defense that's played better, I will take some time too. They weren't on 3rd down, but at key moments in this game, as it went on, came up with some big plays to make the difference.
Yeah, they did. Look, the first half was horrible. I mean, the Bengals converted their first 7 third downs, scored 3 touchdowns in a row. The Bills did stop them on their last third down try in the second quarter, and then the third quarter it wasn't too much better. I think they were 3 or 4 in the second half. There, 2 of them came on that T. Higgins touchdown drive that got the game closer. So yeah, the third down defense was horrendous. It's been a problem for years. This is nothing new to the Bills. We've seen this team last year. Remember last year, how many third and longs you wanted to pull your hair out with this team? And it's happening again. So that's been very frustrating. But, this defense, as we've said, they have to get takeaways to have success. This defense is not good enough if they don't get takeaways. And they got 2 on back-to-back plays in that fourth quarter that were humongous. The Benford play, that's as good a play as you're going to see. He was actually coming, he explained it afterwards, he was actually coming on a blitz, and he managed to, he recognized what was happening, he stopped, and Burrow threw the ball, and he leaped up. I mean, most guys aren't going to catch that ball at him. It was kind of a fastball, and he was close to Burrow, plus the conditions didn't make it an easy ball to catch on his gloves. And he made the catch and raced to the end zone. I thought for sure Chase was going to catch him because Benford's not really a fast guy, but he got all the way to the house. That was huge. And then, my buddy Jordan Phillips, who I really, am sick and tired of, but I'll give him his props here. He made a big play. He got his big meaty paws up there, and, the ball fell right into Epinez's hands, and they get a touchdown. And then, the Bills take advantage. They scored a touchdown there. They didn't just get a field goal. They took it in for 6. So, I mean, the defense, you want to just scream all day at this defense, but ultimately they made the biggest plays of this game.
I think as you talk about the defense, and there's obviously a lot to talk about on the offensive side as well, and we'll get to that. But, I mean, I think let's get into Benford a little bit because we've seen he did not have the best start to the year. He was not like the elite lockdown guy that they paid him to be in the offseason. But as the year has gone on, the performance in Pittsburgh where he has the fumble recovery for the touchdown and an interception. And then today, the imprint he has on this game and the job he did in this game. His game is rounding into form right when it needs to the most for this team. Yeah.
I mean, he's been great the last 2 weeks. He's got the return fumble touchdown last week, the interception, and he had a great run rep last week for a loss of yardage. And then this week, he gets the sack on the blitz, the only sack they had of Burrow, and, of course, makes the big play on the interception. Here's the other thing, though, Adam. He's been traveling with the other team's best receiver, and he wasn't on Chase 100% today. He was on him a lot. Chase only had 5 catches for 44 yards.
That's my point.
That's the guy who had the most catches of any receiver in the league coming into the game. He was great. I mean, Benford did a really nice job on him. T. Higgins hurt him on the other side. He had his way with Trey White and Max Harrison. But if you can shut down Jamar Chase the way Benford did today, that goes a long way to beating this Bengals offense. They need Burrow and Chase to be on the same page and to be clicking. And they really never got to that point. There was a big play by Chase on the last Bengals touchdown drive that was big. But that was really the only impact he had in the game. So that was a great job by Benford.
During the course of the week, we had Solomon Wilcots on to preview this game. And one of the things we talked about, it winds up being kind of a shootout type of result. But, there are some aspects to that where you'd put an asterisk on it, given the way some of the things went down or the impact that the defense had on the scoreboard as well. But offensively, I wanted to get back to this point. We felt it was going to need to be a heavy dose of James Cook. In the running game itself, they wind up with 183 yards rushing in this game, which obviously with the weather turning as it did, I mean, that's a huge positive. We know when this offense is at its best, when they're running the football. I will put a caveat with it, though, because how concerned are you about the turnovers now? With Cook essentially fumbling twice in this game. He gets lucky one isn't called a touchback, and then as he's about to go into the end zone, coughs that thing up. What at the time was a major turning point in the football game. I mean, I think that the coaches will be preaching ball security as they always do, but maybe with a little bit of added emphasis because, they're not over the turnover bug, I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, he had the big fumble last week in Pittsburgh. It set up their only touchdown drive in that game, and then it happened again here. The one down by the goal line or on the play that got overturned, it was not a touchback, and that was pretty obvious it wasn't. But I mean, if there hadn't been the penalty there, that was I lost my train of thought there. So never mind. Just skip what I just said there. They lucked out on that one that didn't go through the end zone. The penalty wiped out anyways. So they got pushed back. So it wasn't a run to the 1 yard line, is guess what I was trying to say there. But then the one on the goal line, God almighty, you cannot. He was going in and lost the ball. The defensive back, the same DB, by the way, who Kincaid had beaten for his touchdown. It was a one-on-one coverage, and Kincaid ran a great route and smoked the guy. Well, he came back and got some revenge on that play and recovered that fumble. When that happened, Adam, you know me, Mr. Pessimist, that was game over. As far as I was concerned, I figured that was game over. And then they go right down and score. And I kind of was like, yeah, it is game over. I just did not see the Bills doing what they did. But Cook's got to get that under control. He's had a great season. It's hard to shit on him for these couple fumbles. I mean, they suck, and they're big plays. But, man, the season he's had, he's been so good. But, yeah, down the stretch, got to be careful. It's cold. The weather's going to suck now from here on out. He needs to be better at that.
Dawson Knox, impact of tight ends. It was obvious. I think you asked about this. I thought I heard you ask. I believe it was McDermott about this in the post game. Because you can always clearly identify a Sal Mayorana voice because there's kind of an edge to it, an edge that we know and love. In any event, though, I mean, of all the shortcomings on this Bengals defense, their performance against tight ends has been abysmal. And clearly the Bills were able to exploit that. I mean, Dawson Knox jumps off the stat sheet, right? 6 catches, 93 yards. Kincaid, 4 for 41, back in the lineup, coming off the hamstring and the touchdown. And Hawes gets in the end zone as well. I mean, just an area that was a weakness that the Bills were able to exploit to their credit.
Yeah, and I asked McDermott, I said, look, we have all the numbers in the media, so I'm sure you have better numbers. That it was clear that they have trouble for whatever reason. It's crazy. I don't know why, but they just can't stop tight ends. And Sean basically admitted, yeah, we knew, and they wanted to exploit that. So Dawson Knox, that's his third best game of his career, Adam, yardage-wise, 93 yards. So that was a little bit surprising. I figured Kincaid would return to the lineup and be that guy. But Knox was the one who was making the big plays. First play of the game, they're down 7-0, 32 yards to Knox. Then he had that 31-yarder late in the fourth quarter, I think on that last possession or the second to last possession, whatever it was. That was a huge play. That got the Bills right down there in scoring position. So he was big in this game. Kincaid, good return. I think he had a 20-yard play, so that was nice to see. And then the Hawes play, that was huge. That was a fourth down. People drive me nuts when they say that, Sean McDermott, conservative defensive coach. That's such a line of bullshit. He is not conservative at all. People aren't paying attention if they say he's conservative. They went for it 4 times today on fourth down, got 3 of them, and the biggest one of the game was that one. They're up, what was it? It was 32-28, right? So they kick a field goal there. Joe Burrow is probably going to go down there, which he did, by the way, and score a touchdown. That would have tied the game. So I was all for McDermott going for it there. Even if they don't get it, okay, it's a 4-point game. They still need a touchdown, but now they got 96 yards to go. So I was okay with it. And it turns out that Jackson Hawes was the guy that got open, which I love because I love that kid. I think he's been such a good player for them. It's nice to see him catch a pass. And it turns out it's the game-winning touchdown. So love that play. Love the decision to go for it. And you talk about Allen being great. There again, he made that play. That play was going nowhere. I mean, he held it. He scrambling around. He held it longer. And finally, Hawes came open and zipped it right in there. Ball game, really. That was a great play.
Yeah, I mean, Allen really didn't have a lot of options. And Hawes on the replay of the end zone replay of it comes off his block and just kind of slips, found the opening. A really good instinctive play. I mean, he's a good blocker. This kid brings a lot to the table, but he seems to, as we see him evolve and develop as an NFL tight end, have some instinct as to how to find that opening and to maybe ad lib and get to a place where Allen can get him the football. And I think that play was a good example of it, don't you?
I think he's got at least 2 touchdowns, and he might have 3. I don't know off the top of my head. So he has been a guy that's been able to get open down there. And I think I've said this, in a couple of places. He's a great run blocker. He's clearly one of the best run blocking tight ends in the league. But I think the Bills could probably learn to trust him a little bit more in the passing game, because when you bring him on the field, it very clearly is a tendency that the Bills are going to run there. So start incorporating him in the pass game. That's going to give the defense something to think about. Usually he comes off, Kincaid or Knox is on the field, and the Bills are going to throw in that situation. Trust Jackson Hawes. Be in a run formation. Maybe use play action and get him the ball. He's shown he can catch it. I think that's a wrinkle in the Bills' offense that they could still go to. And hey, maybe they're saving it for down the stretch. A new thing to throw at defenses. But I think the kid can get the job done. So start using him.
So what's your take on this team now as they get ready to head over to Foxborough and face the New England Patriots? Still alive in the division race. It's a tall mountain to climb, obviously, at this point, but a much better position as far as the playoffs are concerned. Up to 5th now. But I guess I would ask you, what have they shown you in the last couple of weeks? There's a couple of aspects that come to mind. I thought that the edge they played the Pittsburgh game with, and the way in which they won the game with the tackles out and running the football as they did to historic levels in Pittsburgh, obviously, for an opponent. And then the resilience they showed in the game today, kind of that quick strike capability and the opportunistic side of things. I mean, they're not playing at their best at this point. That could have easily been a loss in the football game today, but they're reacting, and I thought they adjusted better in game today than they have in some others this year as well. Just your thoughts generally on this team before we wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. They did make some adjustments in this game. They found a way to get it done on defense after a brutal first half. And then even on offense, I mean, the first possession of the game, they failed. Allen got the sack. And right there, you kind of felt that, man, that field goal, that's going to hurt them, because this is a game they're going to have to score touchdowns in every possession. And they never punted in the game. So they did score just about every time they had the ball. So I asked Allen about that, about the stick-to-itiveness of this game, right? There were many moments where this thing could have just slipped away, and the Bills showed, like you said, some resiliency to stick with it. That's definitely a trait that this team has had for years on end now. Again, it's a McDermott culture thing that people laugh and poo-poo, but it's a real thing. I mean, a lot of teams aren't going to win this game today, Adam. There's a lot of teams that would have folded their tent, especially when it was 28-18 with half the quarter to go. Bills didn't do it, and they found a way to explode and win the game. So I like that about this team. Look, they're going to New England next week, and of course they can beat the Patriots there. We've talked all year about how ridiculously easy the Patriots schedule is. Well, now they've got a big test in front of them. But I still think the mountain is too tall, Adam. The only other reasonably tough game the Patriots have, well, I guess we could say two. I'm talking about the Baltimore game, but I think they just suck. I don't think the Ravens are any good. So maybe that game will not be a tough one. Those friggin' Dolphins, Adam, are still hanging around, and they still have to play the Patriots too. So maybe that's a tricky one for them, and maybe that opens the door for the Bills if Miami can win that. But I don't know. You're 2 games down with 4 to play. I don't think they're going to win the division. But like you said, they did jump up today in the wild card, pending on what happens with the Chargers tomorrow night. Right now, the Bills are in the 5th seed. And the good news there is, Adam, that Pittsburgh beat the Ravens today. I would be all for a 4-5 matchup down in Pittsburgh, because I think the Steelers stink. I mean, whatever happened today in Baltimore, I didn't see it. I have no idea. Obviously, they played better. But I think that team is they would be the weakest playoff team of the 7 that make the
Agreed.
AFC if they win that division. So, yeah, right now, I think the division's out of play, but if they could get that 4-5 game against Pittsburgh, I like their chances there to move on and go to the divisional round at the very least.
Well, I know this, that defensively they're going to have to play a hell of a lot better. I mean, look, that first half and this, the Bengals, say what you want about their defense, but that is truly an elite offense with the pieces they have now in Burrow back. There's no question about it.
Hey, look, one of the best things about this game, Adam, is this probably puts the Bengals away. I mean, they're still in their division. They're still in it, but they're 3 games back with 4 to play now. So, because they kind of needed to win out. So you want the Bengals.
Yeah, sorry, we're having a little bit of a bumpy ride on the internet front. I will say this too from
we are having
the
our
matchup.
technical problem. Never ends.
I will say this though. Well, I mean, your signal in that press box isn't always. I've struggled with that for years as well. Last point here, I was going to make. I mean, the Patriots defense is a hell of a lot better than the one the Bills beat today, right? I mean, so that's going to be another factor. When they go into Foxborough, it'll be a really good. I absolutely think they can win that game. The Bills can beat anybody, given the fact they have number 17 at quarterback. But that would be as much as anything, whether you believe they're still in the division race or not, it'll be a hell of an indicator as to kind of where they're at as they prepare for the postseason.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good measuring stick game next week, win or lose. It would be fun if they won it because, 1 game back with 3 to go. Now your tiebreaker is even head-to-head. I'm not going to go through all the permeations of the conference record and all that stuff, but I would think that the Bills would be in a decent position. They're going to have a tough game against the Eagles, and then they've got to play the Jets the last game. That Browns game, who knows? I mean, the Browns who knows what the Browns are? Their defense is good. That could be a tricky game, but I would love to see the Bills win next week because it would make the last 3 weeks really, really interesting. That would be fun.
All right, this one's in the books, 39-34. Bills rally, come from behind, dramatic fashion to beat the Cincinnati Bengals in Orchard Park. For Sal Majorana, the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, I'm Adam Benini, WGRZ TV, Sports Talk Live Buffalo. Thanks for being with us here on this post-game edition of Believe in Bills.